Is Warzone dying because cheaters can get hacked wonder weapons like the ray gun and beam smasher in the game? Is it because the people that are getting aimbotted on too frequently?
Oh no, chat, I just got aimbotted.
Or is it straight up just because something else? Let's talk about it. Now, let me start this off by saying I'm a die-hard Call of Duty fan. I enjoy playing the series. I've played it since just about 2009, and I put a lot of hours in, so I have my fair share of understanding, and especially with Warzone, being that this is my job to make videos on it, that there is a big issue, and there's a reason players are leaving. Well, I shouldn't say one issue because there's many issues. And let's start basically where all the issues stemmed from, which is the Black Ops 6 integration, which I'm not gonna lie, everybody thought would have been a great integration. We had the Black Ops Cold War integration way back in Warzone 1, and that led to pretty much an all-time high in player count and popularity. It did well for my channel and basically everybody else's YouTube channels, which is a very good indicator how healthy the player base is when there's an excess amount of people looking stuff up and just are interested in the game. That's usually very indicative of a healthy player base on the game and just kind of online. But unfortunately with the Black Ops 6 integration, it has been quite the opposite, and it has been just riddled with bugs, cheaters, glitches, game-breaking issues, and it's kind of gone the worst it possibly can go. And as the time of making this video, it is currently December 23rd, and that means that the Warzone Black Ops 6 integration has been out since November 14th, which is well over a month in time. We still have way too many issues for it to be relatively acceptable. Now, I want to put this out there. We can't fault the devs at Raven Software, who mainly take care of Warzone, entirely for the issues, given the fact that normally speaking, Treyarch gets, or dev studios get that 3 to 4 year time frame to develop their game. Then of course, then it gets given to Raven, and they have less than a year, sometimes 6 months or less, to actually make every single asset that has been developed to the past 3 to 4 years to function and fit properly in Warzone. I'm not exactly sure the map development time and how long that takes, but regardless of all the weaponry, operators, everything, how it's going to fit into this live service game, they have only a few months really to do so. So that may explain some of the glitches, but it doesn't really make them okay. And even talking about glitches, we can take a look at Warzone 1 because there was a plethora of things that were really wrong in the game that weren't the absolute greatest, but the game had a lot of redeeming qualities, meaning that it had an excess of things people really liked, whether it be the maps having Verdansk, having Caldera, which I'm not a big map VR player. I know some people feel a certain way about it, so I can't really give my opinion on that. I'm primarily a Rebirth exclusive player, but we had Rebirth, we had Fortune's Keep. Of course, I mean, there's just a good amount of map selection and choice, and along with the weaponry, the game just felt incredible. There's so many good things about that game. The way the game feels, how the gunplay was, the movement, the animations, everything was very crisp and clean, and regardless if there was some game-breaking bugs or exploits, there was enough redeeming qualities to keep players there, apart from sometimes when the cheating got a little bit too much, and even then Ricochet was pretty bad. But still, there wasn't as many game-breaking bugs like there are in Black Ops 6 Warzone, where you can't have your loadout saved correctly. You can't have your blueprints that you paid money for, your hard-earned cash you bought something for, you can't use it in-game. That's just not acceptable. But the funny thing is that no matter that you can actually, not use it in a game, you can still definitely go ahead and buy something out of the store. The store never stops working in Call of Duty. That's the thing. I think J God made a video and he titled it 99 Problems, but the store ain't one. Or it's the shop ain't one. Whatever it was, and that stays true. Call of Duty can have a billion things not working properly, but that store will never stop working. But getting into some of the core issues that really affect Black Ops 6 and the average player base, and making it so that you don't really want to play the game anymore. One of the first things is that I think the average person thinks there is a lot of cheaters, and frankly, cheating is at an all-time high. I don't even think it was this bad in Verdansk, and that was basically when there was almost no anti-cheat. They had to come out with anti-cheat because I don't think that was really much of a thing. People weren't really hacking on Call of Duty much prior to Warzone coming out. That wasn't as much of a thing, but it got very widespread, obviously, with Warzone being incredibly popular, there being a worldwide pandemic. Of course, people were all at home, and cheating arose and became a thing. And you could almost run into a cheater probably once or twice a game, especially the bigger streamers. They're running into cheaters all the time, and this is getting back to that level, even with there being a supposed Ricochet anti-cheat in the game that has had all the learning processing experience from years prior. It just really doesn't seem like it's doing anything, or even if it's there at all. I know ranked play in Warzone is actually incredibly chalked right now. You really can't get into a ranked play game without finding cheaters. That is a thing. So I can imagine the average person has to deal with a lot of cheaters. I haven't been dealing with them as much, that there are some people that have some sus kill cams or hit you with some weird shots that you really can't explain. One of the other things that's really been bothering a lot of people is that specifically playing on big map, this hasn't happened to me personally playing Rebirth, but there are people that now have the ability to totally crash the server and basically totally ruin your game. There's been a couple of clips of even Swag talking about it because, you know, he's a diehard Call of Duty guy, like a homegrown Call of Duty YouTube, you know, like creator and live streamer, talking about he's not really sure how much longer he can play the game, just purely because the amount of cheaters that he runs into, just the amount of issues, whether it being server breaks, just stupid things happening in a game. Like, the game is like literally straight up a mess. And some people may say these are the streamers talking about specific issues or complaining too much, and that you shouldn't complain because you get to do it as a job. But you got to keep in mind the things that people or streamers experience, I guess, in mass or in a more concentrated form is still the exact same thing that the average person is going to experience playing the game. They may not understand why their server's crashing. Why are they getting hacked on? What's going on with this? Why are they getting falsely shadow banned and put in a shadow ban loop when they're just playing with their buddies? There's people that are only dropping a few kills a game. They're getting hit with false shadow bans. I've been hit with 2 to 3 shadow bans myself, and of course my count is good now. Fingers crossed. I'm gonna have to knock on wood here that actually stays good, because I don't really want to get shadow banned. It's happened to way too many innocent players. So without going into a ton of nitty-gritty stuff as to like all the specific issues, because it's quite the laundry list, we're trying to figure out how can we make the game better? How can we get the game back to where it was, and how can we get it back to essentially where it was in MW3 Warzone? I don't think enough people out there really appreciate how well that Raven and Sledgehammer took care of Modern Warfare 3. It's pretty much advertised as everything that Modern Warfare 2 is not, and I don't even want to talk about MW2 Warzone because that was the absolute biggest pile of trash I've played in my life. It's got to be worse than this. It was absolutely horrible. The design decisions that were made for MW2 Warzone were some of the worst I've ever seen, and I really hope none of those devs, you know, basically Infinity Ward, I hope most of those guys don't really be touching this game anymore, because they've proven to themselves or proven to everybody that they really can't make a quality video game, and a lot of people didn't like it. Maybe DMZ was the only good thing to come out of that, but even then, so many bad design decisions. And that's why, like I said, MW3 was advertised as everything MW2 wasn't, and they did everything properly. And so we had a really great year on MW3 Warzone. Of course, there were some minor bugs and glitches, but overall the player base was thriving and happy and healthy, and everything seemingly went downhill with BO6. But getting back on topic as to how do we really fix this, well, there comes down to a few things. We need to stop, I guess, putting initial blame on some of these developers, because this is not necessarily a developer thing. This kind of ends up stemming from the fact that it's like the top Activision shareholders, or it comes down to some of the people that, you know, of course, since Microsoft bought Activision, that's some of their shareholders. It's people that are pushing out deadlines and times and everything like that, that these people physically cannot produce a fix for. There's an issue where they said that they play tested Rebirth, and of course when Rebirth came out in Black Ops 6 Warzone, everyone knows that running through prison was just ridiculous. The audio was incredible. It was like you're running through a cafeteria and you could hear every little footstep. It was insane. So that just happened as soon as they hit live on it, and they couldn't figure out why, so of course they had to remove it and fix it. So there's some things that just don't quite work, but a lot of this does stem from the shareholders being too greedy, not giving the devs enough time, not giving them enough resources. So we need some initiative from the upper top people, especially Microsoft, and hopefully Phil Spencer kind of, you know, zones in on this. He's the CEO of Xbox, and so because they own it, right, I would assume that he wants to make it for the players. I just don't know how much control he has over that. I know I rambled on that a little bit, but we do need actual accountability from the people way up top that trickles down. They have an actual plan put in place to go ahead and fix things, to give the developer time, resources, and of course some transparent feedback to the community would be great. Call of Duty has been a little bit notorious for gaslighting us when there's issues, not talking about anything or just really anything at all. They should probably take a page out of Fortnite or Epic Games book and really talk to people, specifically because they just sued a cheater, and their Fortnite competitive Twitter literally put out that they are suing somebody and they're gonna go after them in full. Call of Duty probably should announce some of that, just because it'd make the average player or some people that see this on Twitter feel a little bit better and have a bit of a better positive sentiment towards the game, because we don't need all this negative sentiment. So genuinely, I really hope that Call of Duty can turn around, as it's something that's like the only game I'm really truly passionate about. I want the game to succeed. I've never been flown out, given a care package, absolutely anything by any developer, anybody. They don't acknowledge my existence here on YouTube. I'm just talking about this because You know, this is my job. I really enjoy making these videos. I'm not necessarily a video where I'm complaining about the game, but I enjoy helping people get better, giving people setups, showing the gameplay. And it's really quite sad that the community is at a point where basically only negative videos do well. And it's just because there's so many things going wrong with the game. So seriously, fingers crossed some people take notes, and the more social interactions that are negative gets, you know, their way up there, because we definitely need some changes to take place. Otherwise, Warzone is really not going to survive. I don't care if Verdansk comes out early. I don't care whatever happens. If the core issues are not fixed, it affects every single player from top to bottom, the people that play, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, or that are streaming, down to the guys who are only playing an hour or two a week, and they can't figure out why their guns are constantly resetting. That's going to get the average person not to come back on, as they're not really that invested. So think about it, as every issue impacts every player. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more like this and just talking about the game, make sure you guys do me a favor and give it a like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and if you guys could do me a favor, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.